Cold air intakes come in a variety of different shapes and sizes. Some are very expensive and some are very cheap. But how can you make the cheapest cold air intake possible while still keeping it a cold air intake? Well, that is what we will be attempting to do in today's video, making our own DIY intake and seeing if we can outperform the factory one. Here are some of the tests we will run. Sound. How does the sound change over the factory box? Speed. Do we gain any 0 to 60 speed with this intake? Fuel mileage. Does this homemade intake get better fuel economy? To tackle this, we will need to understand how an intake works. An intake is used to clean the air that is being sucked in by your turbo. It's a very simple design, however it can also be very complex with a lot of companies running extensive testing on their intakes like Banks Power. But how can we make a cold air intake without spending the hundreds of dollars that they cost? Well, for that answer we will have to make a trip over to Home Depot and O'Reilly's, where we will be purchasing our material for today's project. The goal for this video is to build our own homemade intake for under $100 that basically replicates the other intakes you can buy online for $400. So without further ado, let's go get to building.
So before we get to any actual building of the cold air intake, I want to investigate exactly what the 7.3 Powerstroke has on their factory so I can kind of judge what I need to get from the store and how the intake works right now. So here's everything on my 7.3 Powerstroke for the cold air intake. We have this boot right here. We have the factory box. I want to try to figure out how we're going to do this layout. I'm thinking I run some sort of pipe right here and actually do the just intake right here like this, a cannon. I'm looking for a little bit more power, a little bit better sound, and a little bit more fuel economy. So I'm trying to see and think of what I want to do for that. So I'm not going to touch anything from about right here on. I'm just going to be mainly just replacing this pipe right here and then the actual box itself. I'm a little bit nervous, guys, because we went ahead and checked out on the Spectre air filter here, and it's got a lot of dust on it. It doesn't look like they sell a whole lot of these, so I'm gonna see here. We're gonna head to Home Depot. I'm gonna head to Home Depot and get some pipe for it. Guys, we found the honey hole right here. This is exactly what I was looking for. Something like this. It's a little bit on the thinner side, but it's gotta be able to hold a lot of heat. It's gotta be able to hold a lot of power, so. Ooh. We're walking out of Home Depot right now. I got some of this metal duct here because, well, this stuff is supposed to handle really hot stuff. So it's supposed to go up to 435 degrees, literally meant for air. Like it's meant to put in dryers, like hot air goes through this. So I'm thinking that this will help hold up one to the heat of the engine bay and also to, you know, suck a lot more air in. So in front of me is everything that we got from Home Depot. This is the, Home Depot and O'Reilly's. This is the O'Reilly's. We got the Spectre air filter here. It comes with some inserts inside, so that's kind of why I chose this one over a K&N air filter. Basically what my thinking is with this, basically butt it up like this. I'm gonna clamp it down like that, and then I'm gonna go from this to basically my filter, and then I'm gonna use something to hold it down. Pretty positive it's gonna work out pretty perfectly. I don't think I'm gonna need this. This was $15. So my total for the stuff right here from Home Depot was $64.53, and my total for just the air filter was $47.62. Okay, so we're at $112.15 for everything right now, which is, we're saving a lot of money. I think for the Banks Ram air intake on this exact model, I'll pop up a picture on the screen to get the exact numbers for you, but I think it's around $400 for that exact model. Once again, you're getting a lot of testing to go with that Ram air intake, so they're doing a lot of testing and they hire a bunch of engineers involved into that actual cold air intake, and there ain't much testing on this. So we're gonna go ahead and try here. So I'm gonna show you guys what it sounds like before. Once again, I do have an up pipe leak, so it's gonna be a little squeaky, but you're also gonna hear that after the intake as well. All right, so this guy comes out. Again, I am gonna save my factory box. See what it sounds like without an air filter. It's crazy how much different it sounds up here. I can hear it so well up there. I wanna see how much of a difference it makes now with our modified intake. There, we got our first little deal here. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, but it should be covered by our air filter anyways. Put the air filter on and basically we should be ready to roll. kind of what we're working with right now. Once again, I do not advise anyone do this. This is just for fun, just something that I thought of on the fly, and I saw Donut do it with PVC. However, they did it on a car, which doesn't get as hot. This truck gets a little bit hotter than the car, so I wanted to make sure that we didn't melt the pipe into our brand new $2,000 turbo. We're kind of risking it for the YouTube video, but it's also a very small intake as well, and I want to see if we do get any more power increase out of it and everything like that. So I want to put the hose clamp on. I had to cut this here, so I was using this clamp. However, it wasn't cinching down right on this, so I went ahead and just put it over the entire tube, as you guys can see right there. And I'm just going to put a hose clamp over that one. I'm all finished up with our little cold air intake extravaganza, basically. Once again, I do not recommend anyone do this. This is for experimental purposes only. So these right here didn't work for me because the outside clamped down too hard and it didn't really clamp down enough on it. So didn't really need these actual clamps for it. Turning both of them, and that came out to $23.92. So basically you need to take 112 and subtract it by $23. So now we're at $88.50 for the entire cold air intake budget build. It took me about 30 minutes to an hour to do this. For an hour of my time, I saved about $100. Now, is it reliable? We're gonna figure that out today in this video. I'm gonna be driving over 180 miles with this exact filter on here. Don't mind the duct tape. This is just to kind of hold it steady in there for right now. I'm not gonna be leaving it like this. I'm gonna eventually be getting a hose clamp and putting two hose clamps or 2 zip ties over it to hold it on there. But for right now, this is kind of what I did to do our testing. I mean, it's in there pretty good. I just need to like tighten down a couple more things. I went ahead and hose clamped up here on there, like as solid as it gets. This pipe is really solid too. So like this is the perfect pipe to do this with. Now I want to show you guys the sound difference that it makes. Somebody putting the mic exact same spot, exact same place, exact same everything. And we're going to see the sound difference that it makes with this cold air intake on there. So let's get into it. So I got the draggy hooked up here. I said last time our 0 to 60 was 7.7 seconds. I'm gonna test our new 0 to 60 now and see. Oh my God. It kind of does wake up the truck a little bit. It sounds a lot different too. Holy shit. It's rolling a shitload of coal, but all right. All right, let's see what the 0 to 60 was on it. It's 8.98. I want to try it again because we did do a huge burnout. Jesus. 8.52 on the 0 to 60. I mean, it still moves, but I don't think we're gonna gain any 0 to 60 speed. Oh yeah, she's a ripper. Picked up or anything. I mean, it's fine. It's literally perfect. It's not crunched up. It's on there good. The duct tape can be fixed, but I'm gonna do the fuel mileage test and see if we got any better fuel mileage. So we're at the gas pump right now, about to fill up on the front tank and see exactly the fuel mileage. I'm gonna fill up at the exact same pump, so that way it doesn't read wrong when I come back to do the fuel mileage test. Right now we are sitting at 370,737 miles. I'm gonna fill up, drive 150 miles, and then see our fuel mileage after the cold air intake, or cold air intake, I say that, but after the intake we put on it. $3.79 for diesel. Put it in there. So you guys can see right there, first one. Let it sit, don't touch it. We're on pump number 2 at this gas station here by my automotive shop. My automotive shop is literally over there, but I'm gonna drive 150 miles, kind of talk to you guys how it's driving and everything like that, how it's running. And then we're gonna come back and fill up at this exact gas pump and see our fuel mileage. I'm gonna change it to the number 2 tune. That's what we're gonna run it on for our fuel mileage test. It's really the daily driving tune from Jelly Built. So I'm gonna run it on that tune for our fuel mileage. Throughout this entire video, I'm gonna be cruising exactly 65 miles an hour. And that's what I normally cruise this truck at. So we've been cruising for we're about 75 miles. We're about to pull into the gas station here, and everything's cruising fine. I mean, everything, it might sound like a little bit different. I'm pulling into the gas station right now. I'm gonna pop the hood and check everything for the first 75 miles just to make sure that the filter's still on there and everything like that, of course, before we go drive another 75 miles. I mean, shit, it's all intact still. I mean, it's literally all fine. It's in there pretty good, and it's running fine, so it's not too hot either, and it's not like coming more brittle or anything. It's perfectly fine. Right now, I mean, everything's running fine. Everything's sealed up fine. Yeah, let's do the next 75 miles. Shit. Guys, let's see here. Like I said, first little handle. I clicked off 6.708 gallons. We're gonna hang it up here. We got 6.708 gallons and we drove 118.9 miles. So we're gonna divide it by 6.708. All right, so we got 17.7 miles per gallon, which isn't too good. I mean, a little bit worse than what I was normally getting, but we were also driving a lot different roads when I got the 18.2 miles per gallon that I got on that tune. So plus or minus 0.3, 0.4 miles per gallon. Nothing too crazy on the actual fuel mileage. I really want to just test like the overall reliability of this because 120 miles, I mean, that's not like too reliable, but this week I'm going to be testing it really in detail and seeing, you know, if this is even possible for you guys to do. But tell me y'all can't hear the turbo a little bit better here, or is it just me? Because I'm going to give her a ton of gas. Here we go. Jesus. Y'all can 100% hear that, right? That turbo sound was never there. All right, so to recap for you guys on this cold air intake. We might have saved a little money doing it ourselves, about like 50, 60 bucks, but overall, I think buying your own intake is gonna be better off for you in the long run because you're gonna do it the right way with the box intake and you have a bunch of trial and error and testing behind the actual product that company is selling you. And if they don't have that kind of testing, then don't buy that product. In the future, I am gonna be putting my own intake on. I'm not gonna leave that intake on my 7.3. This was strictly for testing purposes, just to see if I could come up with something cheaper and a cheaper alternative for you guys to see if we could, you know, go and make it from scratch at a Home Depot auto parts store. So altogether it came in at about $80 to $85 to do this exact deal, which isn't too bad considering that you have some companies charging up to $500 for a cold air intake for these trucks, which is absolutely outrageous. At my shop, if you guys were to bring in your truck and get an intake on, we would do a Banks air intake or a S&B air intake for you guys. I also sell them in the description down below. I don't know if Banks makes an actual intake for the 7.3s that old. However, I know they make some newer ones for the newer 7.3 Powerstroke. So if you guys were to come into my shop, we do it right, we get you taken care of. The downside of it was we got a little bit worse gas mileage. I didn't really see too much of a miles per gallon gain. One of the biggest differences of replacing your cold or putting an intake on your truck, or a cold air intake as they call it, on your truck is the sound. A huge difference in sound in my opinion, especially coming from the engine bay. You could just definitely hear that turbo a lot more and a lot, you know, pronounced of a sound. The reason I'm calling it a cold air intake is because that exact style filter and everything is marketed as a cold air intake on a lot of companies' website. So that's why I'm saying it's a cold air intake, even though it's not necessarily a cold air intake. It's basically a hot air intake because the hot air is still in the engines. Once again, that is not what we do here at our shop. That was strictly for a fun experimental video. If y'all guys want to get an air intake at my shop, you guys can call the number on the screen. We install them here at my automotive shop, PSC Automotive. This customer behind us is getting a turbo put in his truck today. I know you guys have had those intrusive thoughts in your mind when you're sitting on the couch and you think, oh, what happens if you just made your own cold air intake? So that's kind of what I did for you guys. Just let those intrusive thoughts win and put it on my truck. If you guys want to get any merch, you guys can in the description down below or give us a call on the screen for our automotive shop. Peace out, guys.